Good evening, it's 6:30, and I'm going to call to order the joint meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Overlay District Board. We do have a quorum present. First item on the agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes from the November 2nd, 2021 joint meeting with the Overlay Board. And if there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Motion by Aram.
Second.
Second by Karen. Vote now. Here we go. Motion passes 5-0. The next item on the agenda, pardon me, is a public hearing for a plat. This public hearing is the final plat of the Lakeland Plaza addition on 17.38 acres out of the E. Pickett Survey, abstract number 1014, zoned local commercial district, located at 1165 South Stemmons Freeway, being a replat of Lot 1, Block A, Lakeland Plaza addition.
Good evening, Commissioners. The final plat of Lakeland Plaza addition was submitted on October 18th and has been reviewed by staff. This is in association with the Scooters Coffee, the item that you reviewed for the alternative standard last time. They have appeared before City Council, and their next step is to go through the engineering site plan review and a final plat. This is the final plat they're doing for that particular project. And the staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission disapprove the final plat of Lakeland Plaza addition for deficiencies listed and delegate to staff the ability to accept and approve the plat once the listed deficiencies are corrected. The approval plat will be brought to the chair for signatures. The staff is available if you have any questions.
Thank you, June. Okay, before I open the public hearing, Commissioners, are there any questions for staff, comments? Okay. I'll go ahead now and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name, and sign in. Having no one come forward, I will now go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, if there are no additional comments or questions, may I have a motion, please?
Move to disapprove due to deficiencies, delegate that to the staff, and bring it back for a signature.
Motion by Karen.
Second.
Second by Jordan. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. The next item is also a public hearing for a final plat of Austin Ranch West, Lot 3R, Block B, on 15.516 acres out of the Thomas A. West Survey, abstract number 1344, zoned light industrial district, located on the western side of Tittle Drive, approximately 40 feet south of Plano Parkway, and being a replat of Austin Ranch West, Lot R, Block B, Lot 3R, Block B.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. So this plat is for a proposed industrial development. Staff did identify some deficiencies with the plat submittal in our first review. Those are outlined in the staff memo. We are tonight recommending disapproval of the final plat of Austin Ranch West for the deficiencies listed and delegating to staff the ability to accept and approve the plat once the listed deficiencies are corrected, and then bring back the plat to the chair for signature.
Thank you, Michelle. Commissioners, before I open the public hearing, are there any concerns or questions for staff on this item? No? At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward, sign in, and state your name. Having no one come forward, I will go ahead now and close the public hearing. Commissioners, if there are no additional questions or comments, may I have a motion, please?
Move to disapprove final plat for deficiencies listed above and delegate to staff the ability to accept and bring back for signatures.
Motion by Aram.
Second.
Second by Jordan. vote now. Motion passes 5-0. The next item is a public hearing for zoning and special use permits. This public hearing is a consideration of a special use permit for an auto display sales for outdoor and repair facility on approximately 11.52 acres, legally described as Lot 1, Block A, Toyota of Louisville Edition, located at 1547 South Stemmons Freeway on the west side of I-35E, approximately 750 feet south of Country Ridge Road, zoned Light Industrial District as requested by Bill Baird and Baird, Hampton and Brown Incorporated on behalf of Louisville Dealer 17 LLC, the property owner.
Good evening, Commissioners. The Lone Star Toyota was built in 2004, and they're coming for an SUP only for the changes that are happening to their parking lot. This is a little bit unique and different from the two other neighbors that we have considered in the past. If you recall, I believe the Mitsubishi, they were building a completely new building for their reduced area, and the Bankston Nissan, the first consideration was because they were adding on another storage and parking to the north of their site, and which was amended per the I-35 overlay. In this case, they're purely coming because the textile taking has affected their parking area, and they are proposing to cover up the existing open detention area and install underground detention so that they can maintain some of the parking numbers that are required by Toyota franchise. However, such change to the parking lot because of the increased pavement and underground detention would definitely require a new engineering site plan. And when the new engineering site plan is triggered, they need to come into compliance with all regulations that are in place, which means they have to ask for a special use permit for their use and also need to comply with I-35 overlay. They're in the transition district. With that being said, the biggest change is actually to the parking and the landscaping. They do plan to remove a small cube-like structure, 30 by 30, that's attached to kind of a entryway as a decorative feature. They plan to remove that. However, they're only patching the wall where the small connection was made, so no changes are proposed to the building. With that, the I-35 overlay actually require that they come into compliance with the parking and driveway and landscaping. However, no other requirements are triggered. As part of the SUB consideration, they're not making any change to the building. However, they're coming back and providing 20-foot buffer. This is the existing site used to have a 10-foot buffer where the 70-foot wide right-of-way wiped that out, including some of their parking spaces. So the new pavement over the underground parking will allow them to add on about 150 parking spaces. That will allow them to keep the Toyota dealership franchise. Also, they are providing the first 20 feet of their new property line as a landscape buffer and planting the required street trees every 40 feet that will comply with the I-35 transition regulation. Their neighbors provided 10 and 15 at the time that they came forth. With them, they are required to actually meet the 25 requirement because that's what's required by the I-35 overlay, and they are willing to do that. With that, they are also asking for some alternative standards required with the tree planting and allowing them to not place as many parking trees but locate them elsewhere, but that will be considered by the overlay district board after this meeting, the P&Z meeting conclude. However, for this particular item, this is just for the special use permit allowance for the automotive use. Staff has no objection to this SUP as it's an existing site, and this new changes will truly improve the street frontage with much deeper landscape area. They have committed to only doing low-profile monument sign when they actually come with the signage package. So this is in compliance with what we typically recommend for SUP, and they are providing the 20-foot landscape per I-35 overlay. The applicant is here if you have any questions for the applicant, and the staff is also here if you have any questions for staff.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, before I open the public hearing, commissioners, do you have any concerns, comments, questions? No? Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And Mr. Baird, if you would like to come forward.
June did a very good job of explaining what this is all about, and I'm here to answer questions if anyone has questions.
I don't think we did. I do patronize Toyota of Louisville. Was just there last month.
Thank you.
Anybody?
I would like to say that I'm impressed at how efficiently you run the meeting.
Well, thank you.
They're not all this way.
Thank you, Mr. Baird. Okay, if anyone else wishes to speak on this item and they want to come forward, please sign in and state your name. And having no one come forward, I will now close the public hearing. Commissioners, if you have any questions or comments, if not, may I have a motion, please?
I move to recommend approval of the SUP to City Council.
Motion by Jordan.
Second.
Second by Karen. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. The next item on the agenda is announcements.
Yes, this item will be considered will appear before City Council for second public hearing and final decision on December 6, 7 p.m.
12-6, okay, thank you.
For our announcements, I do have just two. One, I wanted to quickly just remind everyone to log in to the Texas APA conference and watch some of those sessions if you haven't been able to do that yet. Please do take advantage of that opportunity that's available for you. And then secondly, I regret to announce that tonight is June Sin's last meeting with the city of Louisville. She's gone to take on to other opportunities, and so we will miss her. We will find another planner, but you can't ever replace June. So I just wanted to announce that tonight is her last evening with us.
Aww, sorry to hear that, but congratulations.
I'd like to add one quick thing. Speaking of the Texas APA conference, City of Louisville was recognized on Wednesday morning of the conference, November the 9th in Fort Worth, for planning excellence. This is an annual award that we have received every year ever since that award was created by the Texas chapter of APA. We're very, very proud of that. We really believe that the support from the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council on all of our planning initiatives has really, truly led to many successful outcomes here in Louisville. So we really do thank each and every one of you for all your support through the years.
Well, congratulations to the staff as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
And we were one of only 33 cities in Texas recognized for planning excellence.
Wow,
So
that's
it's
great.
Nothing that's really easy to accomplish.
Well, we appreciate you.
Well done.
Okay, and the final item for the planning and zoning agenda tonight is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Aram. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned. Next item we have here is the start of the Overlay District Board. I'm going to go ahead now and call that board to order, and we do have a quorum present. Consider the approval of the minutes of the November 2nd, 2021 joint meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And if there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes of the November 2nd joint meeting.
Motion by Aaron,
Second.
second by Alvin. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0. The next item is the consideration of 3 alternative standards associated with an auto display for sales outdoor and repair facility on approximately 11.52 acres, legally described as Lot 1, Block A, Toyota of Louisville Edition, located at 1547 South Stemmons Freeway on the west side of I-35E, approximately 750 feet south of Country Ridge Road, zoned Light Industrial District, as requested by Bill Baird and Baird, Hampton, and Brown Incorporated on behalf of Louisville Dealer 17, LLC, the property owner.
Yes, Commissioners, as I mentioned earlier, this is in conjunction with the consideration for a special use permit. After reviewing their proposed site plan, staff has identified 3 alternative standards that we wanted to come before you for recommendation for support. The first one, actually, we had to clarify that the staff is actually requesting correction to what was originally asked. The original request was to allow them to provide a cross-access easement required by the I-35 overlay as a separate instrument, similar to what we have granted to most existing sites where that will allow them to just show that on their engineering site plan versus having to replat. However, the applicant has approached staff after the packet was issued about their concerns for having an access easement. So staff actually looked into it a little bit deeper and agreed with the applicant that staff can support the request for the waiver of cross-access easement. So the intent of having the cross-access easement typically is because we've seen the pattern of different pad sites and smaller retail sites along the commercial corridor developing where they will have their own driveways and not necessarily connect to each other, so that it makes sense if they have that cross-access easement that with the fewer driveways that you will have better connectivity. For this particular site, they actually have 700 feet long frontage to I-35, and the property to the north has a connection to the street to the north at Country Ridge, and the property to the south actually has closer connection to the Kia Drive. Also, they covered it all. So staff didn't really see any issues with allowing them to request waivering of that, and the applicant actually feel that they would be more comfortable not having to grant that cross-access, being a car dealership with cars, their stocks on display and storage, that they didn't necessarily want the cross-traffic to cut through their property at this time. The second one is to allow trees to be placed elsewhere in lieu of the required parking and landscape island at every 8 parking spaces. This is similar to on the border, if you consider what they were requesting, that they didn't want it to further the reduction of the parking spaces and asked that if those required trees can be placed elsewhere. Staff is in support of this request. And number C is to allow the street trees be located within the 20-foot landscape. So typically in the transition district, they have to provide 5-foot sidewalk with a 4-foot amenity zone within the right-of-way space for the trees and for the sidewalk. In this case, the right-of-way is owned by TxDOT, and they do plan on rebuilding the sidewalk that's in place right now. Whenever there's a sidewalk existing, TxDOT will always come back and put a new one in. So instead of having the trees planted there, asking that trees be planted on their side within that 20-foot landscape buffer, which is actually greater than what's typically required along right-of-way dedication. It's just that the landscape buffer is required because they have a building and the street frontage, but a parking is cutting through the building. If the building was closer, they would be required less, but because this building is sitting far back from the property line, 20-foot landscape buffer is that's what the ordinance requires for the transition area. Staff is recommending that the overlay board recommend the approval of alternative standard A, B, and C with correction to the item A, as shown on your screen. Michelle had provided language for you. So they recommend approval for A, B, and C with correction to the item A to waive a requirement for the cross-access easement. Staff is available if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, commissioners, are there any questions for staff, concerns, comments on these variances or alternative standards? No? Okay. Then may I have a motion?
I move to recommend approval of alternative standards A, B, and C as presented.
Motion by Aram.
Commissioner Ali, just to clarify, is that with the modification to waive the cross-access?
Yes, sorry, to the modification.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Karen. Vote now. And motion passes 5-0. And the final item on tonight's agenda is to adjourn the Overlay District Board. May I have a motion, please?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Karen.
Second.
I've got Alvin down here. Go ahead with Alvin. Vote now. Motion passes 5-0, and Overlay Board is adjourned.
Wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Same to you.